All right, this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is Boston neighbors are outraged by the migrant shelter. They're calling it an untenable situation. All right, let's go and jump into it, guys. Let's see where this takes us.
Let's bring in two people affected by the border disaster. Boston radio resident and radio talk show host Grace Curley and Chicago resident Kata Truss. Thank you both for coming on. I want to go to you first, Grace Curley, because here's some angry residents in Boston's Seaport area about this migrant shelter coming. Watch and I'll get your response.
All right, let's go.
You said this is real. How are you going to ensure we're safe?
So we get no say as residents of the town, residents of the city, neighbors.
I would like to see a little bit more compassion. That's my point of view. Thank you.
I mean, the thing here is, Grace, they don't know who these people are. They don't know how many are coming. They have not been vetted. I mean,
guys, really quickly. So both of the people that just spoke here in this this section here, I think they both have valid points here. The concept of compassion, that's not terrible, guys. The other side of it, we don't know who these people are, right? And so really what is the issue here? The issue is that we don't know who these people are. Once we find out who they are, make sure that everything is fine and asylum is actually is what they're going for and not just economic migrancy. Then I think that compassion is absolutely an amazing thing here. But they definitely need to be vetted completely.
A little bit more compassion. That's my point of view. Thank you.
I mean, the thing here is, Grace, they don't know who these people are. They don't know how many are coming. They have not been vetted. I mean, we see this all across the country. They've got schools and museums that are close by, and they just don't know exactly what is going on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Trace. It's a safety issue. And I think that that's what a lot of people are trying to relay to their elected officials. And you can feel the frustration and you can feel the panic from a lot of these politicians, especially here in Boston, because obviously they're Democrats. They're dealing with outspoken constituents who are very unhappy. And they can't really give them any sort of strategy because the White House doesn't have a strategy.
Nope,
so all they can
all.
really tell people right now is we understand your frustration and we're not Donald Trump. And that's not doing anyone any good.
No, it's really not. And Kata, trust to you now. We're going to get to your city, Chicago, in a minute, but I want you to kind of weigh in, if you could, for me, Kata, on what's happening in Denver, because now Denver is cutting the hours of city employees to pay for the migrants. I mean, the Parks and Recreation Director said the following, quoting here, "The reduction in hours of operation and programs will affect the number of hours worked by many on call, some to the point where they may not receive any hours. Final decisions on hours for any individual position have not been made yet." Can you imagine someone walking up to you saying, listen, we have to take care of these migrants, so we're cutting your paycheck? Cut.
Guys, that's actually happening right now in Manhattan. There are multiple fire department workers who are being told and literally being let go. So the New York city government, right, can pay for more things that are oriented to the migrants themselves. There's also a recent case of a 36-year-old guy who was basically fired. So his basic salary can be paid to the migrants for the most part here, right? Not paid directly to them, but paid to the overwhelming majority of them, right? But that's also wildness. And guess what happened to this guy? He had a heart attack because of this. Guys, this is becoming entirely too much. Untenable situation, not just in Boston, everywhere.
Of course I can imagine. And it's the same thing that we're seeing here in Chicago that is happening all over the country where migrants are being deposited. There's no money to take care of them. The president is standing back saying that we have newcomers as if they're supposed to be here. And I think that what people have to realize, and I have to keep saying this, is that at least in Chicago, sanctuary city status only means that we will not report you to the authorities. It does not mean that we are responsible for housing and taking care of you. And again, we're putting migrants before the people in these cities. So now you're saying to the people in Denver, we're going to cut your hours, possibly taking away your livelihood so that we can take care of someone else.
Right.
In what world does that make sense?
This world, apparently, I mean, it's making sense to the overwhelming majority of each of these cities that they're going to. This is the reason why they voted this nonsense in. So the world that it makes sense in, unfortunately, this one.
Can take care of someone else.
Right.
In what world does that make sense?
And I wonder to you, Grace Curley, because I think if you had to address your local officials, I mean, what would you say to how they have handled this mess in Boston?
Well, it's funny, Trace, because when I watch a lot of these cuts coming out of residents in Boston, you still do have a lot of people who are saying things like, well, I'm very compassionate and I want to handle this with compassion. And I think that's the part of this that we haven't been able to shake. You have to let people understand it's not about compassion. People in Texas are very compassionate. People on those border towns are very compassionate. Addressing the fact that this is an untenable situation and having solutions for that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you less caring than anybody else. It just makes you a realist with some common sense. And we're lacking that right now, especially in the city of Boston. And people are just at their wits' end. They feel like they've been left in the lurch.
Guys, keep this in mind here. In terms of Massachusetts, has gotten roughly 3,500 migrants since this whole debacle has actually occurred. And I definitely want to kind of reiterate this point here. I was one of those people, right? In terms of like being like, listen, we just have to let them in. This cannot be an issue. You have to have some compassion. I've immigrated to multiple countries. I've immigrated my wife to this country here, my son, etc. Right? So I understand the whole process here, but there's only so much of that you can say until the actual facts and like reality just smacks you in your face. And the reality of the situation is it is completely untenable. We can't handle this anymore. It seems like there's nothing we can do to even fix it, other than nothing. There's literally nothing we can do to fix it, because the person in the White House currently it doesn't want to do anything about it. He's completely fine with it while literally watching all of these, all of these big cities just completely go bankrupt. They're all going to go bankrupt over this, to the point where, and you can tell they're going bankrupt. You can tell this by the amount of like mandatory jobs that are needed to kind of take care of these cities. And if you're starting to let these people go, you can't afford this, bro. Right? You may have to change the sanctuary status of every single one of these cities, bro. I think it's mandatory going forward.
I think you're right. And I want to put these numbers up, Kata, just so everybody knows kind of what Chicago's going through. If you look at back here in January of 2023, there were 5,100 of these asylum seekers in Chicago. And now the number is 36,000. That is more than 6 times as many in the course of 12 to 13 months, Kata. It is, as Grace was saying, untenable.
It is. And think about the money that has already been spent. In the state of Illinois, with the city and county combined, we have spent over $1 billion. And that's just this year. And so imagine what it's going to be like as those populations begin to grow, as their needs begin to increase. Right now, we're seeing an increase in crime, and I'm sure that you're going to see that all over the country as the needs grow and people become desperate. Right now, when these migrants are committing crimes, they're being arrested, and then they're being turned back out onto the streets.
$1 bonds.
And we know that when criminals are not prosecuted correctly, they will come out and they will become more brazen with the crimes that they commit. And so those communities have a right to be on edge.
They do have a right to be on edge. Kata Trust, thank you so much. Grace Curley, thank you for coming on. We appreciate your time.
Guys, definitely a great conversation. I mean, any conversation that we can actually have, about some type of change or something that can kind of benefit all of us, the masses of the United States citizens that actually pay taxes, right? And, we should be able to benefit at least something from our taxes, not specifically being told by every single local government that parks can't get fixed or schools can't be fixed or towns that are suffering from blight can't be fixed. We shouldn't be, we shouldn't be bombarded with all these no's, and then out of nowhere, you have all this money to pay for people that weren't from here and never paid into the taxes. How can you think you're going to win when elections come up again? Because now all of these places know you've been lying to them. Literally. You had no money to fix this, but yet out of nowhere you found a couple $1 billion? That's a weird one, guys. That is absolutely incredibly weird. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day. thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.